This is a special training and safety episode here on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars. Today with me, with Thomas, because we're here together with Continental, which is, as a transparency note, the sponsor of this video. Together here we're doing a safety training in different exercises, handling, braking, and also here on the wet surface, which is very interesting, and also test some tire choices. And since we have the Volkswagen T-Roc at the moment, it's another choice also to give this car here a test on the handling and the braking performance. And we'll also hop into this BMW 1 Series for special tire comparisons, winter tires against summer tires, new tires against used tires, and white tires against small tires. What will be the result? It will be very interesting. Experience that together with us in full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! Now we'll make a first exercise, a simple slalom, and well, in the slalom you can see it is about the steering, because there's always a discussion how to grab the steering wheel. Is it up there or up there? Brian does it this way, I do it rather in the lower way, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and that's also the proper way. Sorry, Brian. So this way you have in both directions always the full control, and we'll do it once more in this U-turn. Should you come to a position where you come, where you put your arms across or so, then, it's for a short while, it's okay, just for a short moment. But if you're longer in that crossing position, then you should remove this one arm, because the airbag can come out. The same is also here when I'm in the 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock position. You can see I can very well steer the car around. And this way here, as soon as I'm going a longer way over cross, I remove one arm, because always when you have the arms too long over cross, the airbag couldn't come out that well. And here in this position also, the airbag cover could flip up, and this will work then very well as well. Just putting now the walkie-talkie to the other side that it doesn't fly around. So, and this is actually the safest way. In this way, airbag can come out, and you have in both directions all the possibilities basically. So that's also then the best way you could possibly have. So you can also go fast through the slalom, and then when you go across here in this U-turn, remove one arm, then you're actually quite safe both for the airbag and still have good control then also in the steering. And by the way, here with the T-Roc, this rattling, by the way, is in the middle console. We'll just fix that one. Stuff we have flying around. With the T-Roc, by the way, it's especially easy because here, in a lot of the VWs, Audis, and so we actually have a very progressive steering. So you can see we don't have to steer that much. It's relatively direct, and that's of course pretty cool. It gives you comfort in everyday driving. At the same time, also safety and fun when you drive it a little bit faster. You don't have to steer that much. So I'm really also satisfied how the car is handling here. Pretty neutral, doesn't tilt too much to the sides. It's once more in a sport mode, a little bit faster. You can see that also works with the vehicle. The luggage in the trunk is flying around. And here now a little bit faster also in the corner. Tires are pushing now, a little bit squeaking. And of course a little bit more fun. Also a little bit more G-forces to Michelle as cameraman.
Oh,
now,
that's okay.
Now a little faster in the slalom. And the car really performs very well. I mean, it's an SUV, but still you can get a quite sporty handling. And you can see with my position here with the hand, still good control. Very nice. And now we switch vehicles for a special wet track performance test. This one here, Continental tires, fresh in the front. You can see 8 millimeters of profile depth, both front and rear. But in the other vehicle, which we'll also test, fresh new tires in the front, but in the rear, just the mandatory minimum profile depth with 1.6 millimeters, so hardly any left. And we'll see how is actually the difference then between a fresh tire and this one that has been running a lot of kilometers. So we do this exercise with about 45 kilometers now, and we do a short lane change. And see, this one is here with the new tires. Just a little steering, pretty stable. ESP is activating. So we'll also do it once more to get a feeling for the car. Turn it back around. Other guys filming as well on the event. So this is the other car we'll also drive very soon. The other vehicle has used tires. And once more. Here we go. And you don't have to oversteer, just very slight steering. You see, when I steer a little bit slighter, then it's actually more in control. You don't have to oversteer in those wet situations. That could be a possible danger if you maybe, you know, being distracted, or you saying, oh my God, you know, then you oversteer, and then it gets really dangerous. Here, especially with a rear-wheel driven car, you can slide out in the rear, and you can see that the electronic stability control already set in. But so far, together with that, I could keep it relatively steady. Let's see how that one plays out then with the used tire in the rear. And now 1.6 millimeters only, the old tires in the rear. Let's see how that one plays out. I'll head it on to the same speed, and I'll basically do the same steering movement. Whoa! Look at that. And then I have to correct a lot more. So even with the activated stability control, wow, this is really a huge difference. Wow. Actually pretty scary to see, you know. So probably the best learning from this exercise is check your profile depth in your tires, and if it's too low, maybe you should switch to a newer one. I mean, you can have a very good car and you also can have very great driving skills, maybe. But when you don't have any profile depth and you go to, you know, when as long as it's dry, it's not such a problem. But you can see when it's wet, the water has to go somewhere through those, you know, through those profile. And if it's not possible, like here, so here again, and if the electronic stability program would not rule it, of course I would have more fun to counter steer. But this is, in this case, not, you know, the relearning of the exercise. We're driving it as it would be just here used on the normal road, but you can see a huge difference. It's basically, you know, this profile depth difference, old and new tire on the rear. It's different as if I would using the ESP on the one car and would shut it off on the other car. So really huge difference. Pretty interesting to see. And now another very interesting test. What about the tire size? Those ones here are 195 in width. And soon we'll test also some which are a little bit wider. And let's start with the smaller ones first here and see how they perform in the slalom. A little bit wet here on the side as well. Well, I mean, it felt good. This 1 Series BMW is also quite fun to ride. And the question is really, you know, you used to say that, you know, especially for example in winter times or snow and ice and stuff, or also when it's wet, that smaller tires are better because they have more weight than on, you know, on the single tire part. But as tire technology evolved, when you have a wider tire now, you can have all those technology advantages on the wider base of the tire. And so today you say that the wider tire is actually better in any condition. So let's test this one here again with a little bit more speed. We're about 50 kilometers an hour. It's really a lot of fun with this car. So not sure how it will evolve when they make the 1 Series front-wheel drive in the future. But that was again the little bit smaller tire. Let's now take the same speed with the car with wider tires. And now with the 225 in width, let's see, I'll go to the same speed, about 50. Let's see how that one performs. I can even accelerate a little bit more. So I directly feel they have more grip. It's way easier to drive. And I also felt that the car would somehow be less tilting to the left and the right. And it's definitely easier to drive, and it's also more fun. So it's really interesting because you hardly have any chance, usually to test it. Like the very same vehicle, also same tire brand, and then just, like this summer versus winter or the width of the tire. So it's really cool to have the possibility to test this now. Let's go again, even a little bit faster. That's a lot of fun now. I'm now at 60 kilometers. Cool. I mean, it's not a difference that you would see, it's a totally different car, but you definitely feel the difference then. So with the wider tire, more grip. And as I said earlier, this will still be the case also for snow and ice condition, because the technology bits they have installed there also work better than when you can just put more of that on the tire. So today you can say, and we also see that also on the vehicles we test usually, that you can get also the winter tires meanwhile in a very wide choice, literally. Now to the next, probably the most important exercise, just braking. But is it just braking? Because usually in a traffic light situations, we know we press the brake gently, roll to the traffic light, and then maybe also release the braking pressure at some point. And the problem is, this is saved in our brains. So sometimes people do that also in an emergency situation. So if there's really emergency braking, you have to be sure that you do it in the proper way and really hammer the brakes and not do the stuff that you would usually do at a traffic light situation. And you're not pushing the brakes, you're really hammering it all the way through. That's also the next important thing. So, and I will show you that. We're driving about 50 kilometers an hour or something, and I really hammer it like I would be kicking something and not as I would just be pushing something. And I will also stay on the brakes, because that's also another mistake some people do. They release the braking pressure in this emergency situation, again, because you're used to do it from the traffic light. So, and now, get ready, about 50 kilometers. And you can see the ABS was working, and I'm just in the middle of this braking lane here now. That worked pretty well. Good brakes here also from the T-Roc, by the way. So that went pretty quick, and I really built also some pressure in the seat. So I pushed myself with my feet against the seat, so I can apply the maximum braking pressure. And then you can really see that from the outside that it works very well. And now about braking using the anti-blocking system, the ABS, and steering. Well, so another exercise then, not only braking but also making the full braking process, but at the same time we steer, and we're about 50 kilometers, hammer it fully and steer. You can see I'm still able to steer, and this would be the obstacle I could then still pass. And if it was anti-blocking system, it's that the tires don't stand still completely, but they like this. So you have a small rolling still, you have good braking power, but you're still able to steer somewhat. And then, for example, if you see, I'm not making it, I can't brake fully, then you can still steer around the obstacle. I can increase the speed even a little bit more and see, because it gets even more exciting for you then. So let's do it one more time. A little bit more speed and still hammer and steer. Here we go. You can see what's still possible, and that's really good to know. And probably also, the ABS is one of the best safety systems we have in the car. You just have to trust a little bit in the car and really hammer the brakes again, and that you know that it's still possible to steer somewhat. Of course, here when drive surface, that's of course easier. When it's wet, then it gets a little bit more complicated. And now another very interesting test. We do a braking performance test with winter tires and summer tires in comparison. This is a winter tire, again about 40 kilometers an hour, and I hit the brakes. And now I'll remember the mark where I would be standing still here. So that went actually quite well. You have to remember this surface here is rather, like an ice surface, because the concrete here below us is really slick. And when I hit the brakes here, it's a little bit like I would be braking on an icy surface. Here it's not so much about how much water the tires can transport away. Depending on the tire, if they're both new, really depends on the individual tire. They can be quite equal, on the water, on just the wet surface. But here on the ice, the winter tire is supposed to be better because of a different rubber they're using. It's softer and also sticks better than to an icy surface. So that's the winter tire. Let's see how the summer tire plays out. So, and now with the summer tire, let's see, we go to the very same speed and fully hit the brakes again. Wow, 1, 2, 3, I think about 4 or 5 meters difference. You felt that the car would be, wouldn't come to a stop at all. That's very interesting. And again, on wet surfaces, you can argue, there's maybe not a clear winner. It depends on the very individual tire, but you can see when you have simulating an icy or snowy surface, clearly the winter tire does a better job here. And I mean, those 4 or 5 meters difference there could be the crucial ones. And now to our conclusion for today with the safety training here together with Continental. This was very interesting because we could really see differences between winter tires and summer tires, wide, small, also the used and the new ones, and of course also the different handling tests. So yes, keep your hands 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Also for Brian, reporters on Autogefühl. Remember that, Brian. And different handling tests. Really remember, hammer the brakes. Hammer them completely in emergency situations. Maybe also try and do such a safety training on your own. It's really helpful. Also when it's wet, when you have the ABS system, the anti-blocking system, you can really hammer the brakes and still you are able to steer. And the brakes is actually the best you have with the vehicle. Then it was very interesting to me that nowadays you don't need very narrow tires even for rainy or winter conditions or so. With the new tire technologies, actually quite okay when you also use the wider tires for all different purposes, just for more grip and handling, and put all the tire technology on the wide area of the whole tire. And also pretty interesting when you have different tires, for example the used ones, how different they react. That you really better have the new tires and don't drive them so long. So always pay attention to the depth of your profile. And of course also how the difference in the braking was between the winter and the summer tires, not necessarily on the wet surface, but especially on those icy conditions. Of course, nowadays you have, for example, city areas where you don't have a harsh winter. then there are also those new products which basically serve both summer and winter times. But if you are in an area which really has a hard winter, then it still makes sense to have the differentiation between summer and winter tires. Well, did you enjoy our safety episode here for today? Then give us thumbs up and also leave us some comments. I hope you liked it, and also tune in to our next full review here on Autogefühl.